Welcome to the Chamber Vibes podcast with your host, Brittany Timmons, the Greater Guthrie Chamber of Commerce CEO and President. In this podcast, you will hear from local guests who will discuss topics such as leadership, small business, and our vibrant community. You'll also hear success stories and tips from amazing local businesses, dive into important news, meet community leaders, and find out how you can get involved in our community. From the Second Banana Media Studios in beautiful and historic downtown Guthrie, America, here is Brittany Timmons.
Hello, everybody. This is Brittany with the Guthrie Chamber, and it is time again for Chamber Vibes. So I've got two awesome guests. I mean, all my guests are awesome, right? They really are. But I've got two more awesome guests on today's podcast. I have the Dunagans, Jace and Heather. How are you guys?
Good.
Great. How are you?
Great. I'm good. So Dunagan Farms, let's dive in. For those of you listening, you probably have seen or heard about the Dunagans, but just in case not, let's just talk a little bit about the history of Dunagan Farms. So, Jace, you want to start?
I can. The actual history of Dunagan Farms started officially in 2014 when we got our brand registered. That's the actual history. That's boring. Nobody cares about that.
I care.
My wife and
I care.
are high school sweethearts.
Okay.
Our dads graduated high school together here in Guthrie.
Cool.
We are both, I believe, fifth generation Guthrians, give or take.
I don't have a clue.
Give or take one.
A long time.
Yeah, and this is where we were born and raised and where we plan to die. Hopefully not directly.
Right.
I was born with a love of cattle. Indus Dairy used to be where Walmart is now. That is actually my mom's dad, my mom's family, the Indus. They sold all the cattle, I think, in the early 80s and sold the land to Walmart and wiped all that away. But whatever was bred into my grandfather and great-grandfather that had the dairy, I was also born with, as far as the love for cattle, using them as a sustenance for people as they were designed intentionally by God, our Creator. And so 2009, I think I did, Yeah, we always try to figure out how to get cattle, and it's expensive, and we're young, and coming across the land when you're young and broke and don't really have a whole lot of experience in it, it's pretty tough. I did some work for a guy who was selling out of the cattle business. I was a welder, welded full-time, did industrial work, and the last 15 years did contract work. In the oil and gas world, and some industrial work as a contractor, not much. Built buildings, built fence, built everything, anything you can build out of metal. Back to doing the work for the guy, 2009, 2010, I think it was. And he was selling out, and he paid me with some cattle, paid us with some cattle. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm selling out, so I can give you dollar value amount in bred heifers. I think there was 2 4-year-olds. And I said, okay, cool. So, and we had just secured some land, and that got us in the cattle business.
Okay.
The next 10, 11 years after that, we worked as hard as we could with the ranching, the raising the cattle, selling the beef, navigating that overly uneducated process from consumer to rancher. And try to streamline and get better ourselves, how to present a better product to the people without betraying the animal and without betraying the person. We did that to a point where feeding Oklahoma, the way we were doing it was sustainable enough for us to do it full time.
Right, which was just in the last year, right?
It was last August, almost a year.
Wow.
We're full-time 100% and have gone from just my wife and I to 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees.
Okay.
And expanding within reason as quick as we can, and trying to feed as many people in Oklahoma, Dunagan Farms beef, as we possibly can.
Right. So at what points after you acquired cattle and started ranching, what point did you start selling even just, because I know there for a while, people had to buy a lot at one time, right? Like a quarter or half or things like that. You weren't really open to the public as far as like with a store, right?
Right. So the vast majority of producers who sell direct sell in portion form, quarter, half, whole beef. Primarily, the majority of that would be half and whole beef, or a side and a whole beef. And we started that in 2014.
Okay.
We raised a couple for food. We had a side for us, and we sold a side. And then the next year we did 5 or 6, and the next year we did 15, and the next year we did 35. And it wasn't until about a week before COVID was declared a national issue here in America that we got our state compliance stuff done, where we could have individual retail cuts with our label put on them and sell them individually. All of the portion stuff comes packaged the same, but on the label it says not for individual sale. The idea behind that is the person bought that portion of that animal, not the meat.
Okay.
And so that kind of removes a lot of liabilities for the processors and for me. If they can't take that and then resell it, once they get it, the safe handling instructions and everything that goes into that process have been completed. What they do with it from that point is their business, their problem. If they leave it out, sours, that's on them. Whereas the retail side, people can actually buy from us and then take and resell it.
Okay.
But with the compliance that our safe handling procedures that we have, once it leaves our hands with that label on it, we're omitted of any liability.
Okay. Good to see. You thought that I knew all the things. There was going to be something during the podcast that I would say, I didn't know that. I always learned something new.
There's one.
I always learn something new. There's one. We'll see. See if we can get any others. No, that's why I love doing these, because there is something that not just me, but the community will learn listening to these. So, okay. So now, like you said, full-time, family-owned business. This is all, you guys are living and breathing this. So what is now, I would say, your storefront, but it's out at your farm, right? You've got a barn, basically. Yep. Right next to the house. So yeah, let's talk about that. What's that look like for someone that wants to come out and shop?
So some people it probably makes them feel a little weird. The vast majority of the people makes them feel very comfortable. They see us, they see
your dogs.
Our, let's just round it up as pets.
Yeah, okay.
They see our pets.
Yes.
Chickens.
They see right off the bat that we absolutely adore animals. They see the cattle, they see hogs. There's nothing we hide.
And that's a struggle we have because, everybody wants us to come to town. Well, then they don't get that farm feel
right.
that people long for these days.
And so that has helped, people trust us.
Mm-hmm. They're literally going to your house.
They're at our house.
To purchase their beef. Right.
Exactly. They're at our house. And they see our kids. They see, kids riding bikes or playing catch or playing chase, hide and seek, whatever.
Or last time I was there was an actual chicken that got mad because she was getting moved to get me a bag so I could put my beef in. And she was just hanging out in there. So, yeah. And I thought that was awesome.
I touch the chicken all the time so kids can pet the chicken because there's tons of kids that have never touched or even seen a chicken.
Right.
Yeah. They think their eggs come from Walmart.
Right.
Or wherever their grocery store is.
Which is wild to me. So that chicken lays an egg up there every day. And if I can get her to, I'm going to start sneaking a carton underneath her. I want her to lay it right in the carton.
Right inside, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll just move it slightly the next day. And she can fill one up.
Right.
I don't see why not.
That's hilarious. I think she was trying to do that yesterday, and she got a little frustrated whenever.
When a chicken's trying to lay an egg, their fuse is short.
Yes. I love it, though, because like you're talking about, it's the experience.
Right.
So that kind of leads into Farm Day.
Mm-hmm.
So last fall, you guys were up and running full time and open to the public. And at that point, I think you already had your freezers, your individual freezers where people can come and just shop and they can just buy. That's the thing we want people to kind of learn too through this podcast and through other things I've done with you guys with the chamber. Like, you don't have to anymore. I just told a friend this the other day. You don't have to order a quarter or a half. You can go out and buy one ribeye if you want. One steak, or you can buy 25 pounds of beef or whatever you need to stock up. So I think that's what's neat too, is people can come out for just their dinner they're having that evening or the next day or whatever, or they can stock up. So Farm Day. So you guys were open and then you came up with Farm Day. So what made you guys come up with that? And let's talk about what that is.
Farm Day is the philosophy behind Farm Day. Let's start with that. Is a place where you can bring your family. You can have a ton of fun. You can wear your kids out. You can eat for free. You can enjoy the country. The chickens are running around. There's a petting zoo that you can do whatever you want to. I mean, you got to be kind to the animals, but you can pet them, love them, sit on the pig, horse rides, so much stuff that it's almost like a carnival, but it doesn't have the cheap carnival feel to me. It is one family extending so many blessings that we've received back to the community. And it's just incredible. It's just so much fun. It's a lot of work. This most recent Farm Day, an 80-year-old woman rode a horse for the very first time in her life.
That's so awesome.
And that made the entire day worth it.
Yes.
You know, that in itself. But there's cook-off competitions going on. There's raffles going on, giveaways going on, shopping. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to put it in just a few words. But to answer my first statement, the philosophy behind the Farm Day is to give back as much as what we are giving. Because we love the animals, and we love the idea behind raising animals for food. But if we don't have customers, we can't do that.
Right.
And so our customers support us. And so this is twice a year we're going to do this. This is us giving back some to our direct customers. And it does help get other potential customers out there.
Sure.
And I think Farm Day is going to grow. It's going to be huge in, say, 5 years. I mean, it's just going to be.
It was already huge, friend.
Well,
Yes.
What do you mean?
it's 20, 30, 50,000 people
Right.
in 5 years. But no, the first one was a huge hit. The second one doubled the first one. It's shocking to see. And the biggest praise we got from everybody, it didn't cost an arm and a leg.
Right.
And their kids could run around and be kids.
That's what I was gonna say. From a mom's point of view, like there's not many places that you can go nowadays to just let your kids roam,
Right.
and feel safe that they're roaming. And so we
Jumping
had
on
everybody-
hay bales and,
Oh, yeah.
just, getting that farm experience.
Yeah,
It
we
just
had
doesn't
everybody
exist.
Park across the road, and that way nobody had to worry.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Very few vehicles in and out.
And then
two,
you're
I
serving the Dunagan burgers
Yep.
all day.
All
Which
day.
is awesome because you're feeding people. So, and then in turn, they're getting to meet you and they're literally at your house.
right?
Yep.
You know, you invited that many people to your home.
We can't be much more
And then we-
transparent.
Right.
We
No.
also started doing cooking classes that we invite people into our home.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Into.
So our cooking classes are inside our
Yeah.
kitchen. I mean, that's the gathering point. Everything we've cooked so far has been on a pellet grill on the back porch. But so we'll go inside and talk, prepare the meat, take it on the back porch, cook it, sit down and visit if the weather's pleasant. Go inside, cook it and eat it, or cut it and eat it. And yeah, it's very personal. And I think that's one of the biggest things missing in today's society with the things we buy as consumers. We don't know where it's made. We don't know how much pleasure the person making it had while making it,
Right.
Or displeasure.
or displeasure, or the cost, not just fiscally but environmentally went into it. All things are primarily made in the name of good, but at what cost? I think the cost is often lost And so if we can get people to like us for us, come hang out. I mean, you get to see the whole 9 yards. Even me get frustrated with my kids when they're opening and shutting the trash can 19,000 times while we're driving to have a cooking class.
Right.
But that's real life.
That's real life. That's what I was
real
going
America.
to say. That is real life. That is, you know how many times, especially like I took over the chamber 2 weeks into the pandemic. And I was terrified because everything was virtual. And then I thought, how are people going to meet me? How am I going to do a good job and help, you know, show the chamber's relevance and different things like that? And you know how many lives and Zooms that the Timmons girls are in the background or running around. And, you know, I just thought, oh, well, I mean, this is me. And this is, I mean, we do feel like we have a professional organization, but it's also just real life. And I think that helps us connect. And Guthrie is really good about that. Yes, you know, we always say community wins. That's what it is. And I know I've personally told people like, oh, Dunagan Farms beef is so good, but oh my gosh, you just got to get to know Heather and Jace. Like, you know, it's just, it's seriously, I think when people get to know you guys and see the heart and passion and soul behind what you do, then it just makes people want to go out there 10 times more, you know? And I just think that's important. Like you said, I think that's a lost art and things that we get so disconnected in today's times with technology and things, you know?
100 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, you went to someone and you bought something. You knew the history of exactly what you were buying, the person, the pride that they took in providing it. That's gone. The Industrial Revolution made that go away, and now we live in an Amazon world where we can order something that's in New York and have it by 6 o'clock tomorrow.
Right.
Which is nice.
Sure. I was going to say, we all love Amazon.
We do love Amazon.
But the relationship, a consumer to provider, producer, is gone.
Right.
And we want to rekindle that. We put so much pride and effort into our animals, and not just for the heck of it, but for the feeling you get when you sit down at home and you're eating something that was raised, lived its life out just up the road, that Jace dropped off the processor, 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And quietly walked the animal into the holding pen for the night, for the last time he'll see him. The passion that we have for that, I think needs to be realized at the dinner table. And you can't create that without a personal relationship with your customers.
Right.
And so we're only 2 people, but I mean, we'd like to say every one of our customers is a friend. And they are. If I don't recognize you, I apologize. But every customer means something to me. Every piece of meat that leaves that shop fulfills the drive for me. That's a very primal drive to do my very best to treat the animals as good as possible, to feed the people the best meat available.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kudos to you guys, because I think you guys are doing that. I think that you guys are the true definition of community wins and choosing Guthrie. Obviously, we kind of touched base on this before we started recording here, but, you, like you said, you guys are multi-generation, Guthrie family, but, you chose to stay here and raise your family here. And now your livelihood, your business, everything, is here. And that's something special, and I think too, it's been really neat to watch you guys just in the last year that I've gotten to know you, donate to different organizations and have your burger. Have you guys done some stuff in the park? It's been Dunagan Farms beef, and there's so many things in my head. I'm like, I can't even remember them all, but you donated a prize for the summer reading program for the library. And you guys have tried to just give back that partnership, and with the community. And it's just amazing. Yeah. What are some of the other things? I know this is bragging time. So what are some of the other cool community things you guys have done that you've really enjoyed?
The Hope House. We donate to the Hope House.
Okay.
God's Food Bank. Hands of Jesus.
I suck at this.
I know. This is one of those Brittany put you on the spot moments.
Never let your right hand know what
the-
your left hand is giving.
Yes.
The park one was, what was it called?
It was a Walk for Life.
Walk for Life. Yes. Then that's one that was in my head. I was like, I know that. Yes. For Crossroads.
Yes.
Yes.
Several,
so you guys,
several hundred patties. I forget an exact
and that's
number.
a big fundraising event. That's really important to
Huge
that
fundraising
organization.
event for them. We've fed lots of kids after baseball seasons. We've donated.
Wow.
a ton of meat to the Hope House and continue to, and God's Food Bank.
Yeah, that's
Just
awesome.
a way. So part of my philosophy in feeding Oklahomans the absolute best possible meat you can have is it does cost money. To raise cattle and hogs the way that we raise them, it costs more than pretty much anything else I've found. But it puts the pride in the meat and doesn't betray the animal. And so there are people who can't afford it, and they're on hard times for whatever the reason may be. But let's not make them not get to enjoy things sometimes.
Right.
Let's just, they're struggling. We all struggle from time to time.
That's when we did our blessing bags.
Yes.
Do you remember how many blessing bags we did?
300 and something.
No, it was 6.
Oh,
Wow.
bags, individual
bags.
bags. Yeah, 600.
Yeah. So what's a blessing
40.
bag?
So a few weeks ago, we had some extra inventory that we were like, let's figure out. And I was like, why not bless people? Why not create these bags where people can come in at a very, very cheap rate
Very cheap.
and just bless everybody that we can. And we ended up making, I want to say like 630
Bags. Yeah.
630 something bags that we made.
Wow.
And it was crazy. We just kept making bags, and it was like, where is all of this coming from?
Right. That's what I was going to say. Wow.
So it was almost a spiritual moment.
Yes.
It very much was.
Wow.
We looked in our freezers. And we
I just
didn't
got
have
chills.
We didn't have but like maybe a couple hundred bags worth, and we made over 600, and got to there was 392, I believe, people who received one of those, or 2 of those, and
Well, they had
the reach of that is unreal. So we had a lady buy some, and she's coming out today, and we're going to box them in dry ice. Now, she bought them here, but she's going to take them with her to her family and give them to them in a different state. And so her little blessing idea is reaching, people so far away.
More people.
Which is just incredible.
That's awesome.
That wasn't the thought of it at
Right.
all. But we've learned that anything you give up control of to the Creator, He always makes it better than what you thought was possible.
That's awesome. That's kind of like a 5 fish and 2 loaves
Exactly.
story,
Exactly.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, and you guys have some really cool merch. Let's talk about that. And you guys have partnered with Cleveland & Co. Yes.
At
Get
the
your
Mark.
merchandise out there.
Yep.
Yep. That's super fun.
Yeah, we have Peace, Love, Beef shirt. Where does your beef come from? The back says Dunagan Farms. Some
Oklahoma roots.
other stuff, some Oklahoma
I like
roots
that.
stuff.
I like that.
My kind of goal is to ultimately have every single household in this state have some of our meat at some point. It's like 4 million people, 4.5 million people. So family of
Hashtag goals. I like
a
it.
million households, give
Yeah.
or take.
Well, and one way you're doing that now, that was something that I was going to bring up too, is your shipping. So now people outside of Guthrie and Logan County can get Dunagan Farms beef.
We're shipping
So what does that
statewide.
look like?
It started as a lot of excitement, turned into a rapid, rocky debacle, as with shipping perishable goods can be.
Right.
So we learned. I'd shipped maybe
It's very much
things.
a learning curve.
2 things in my life up to that point.
Like, I don't know how to
She
package
always
this.
mails the bills. Like I can fill out an envelope, but that's pretty much the extent of it. So the last few weeks have been streamlined, very uneventful, which is good.
Yeah.
Packages leave on time, show up on time. Meat's frozen, boxes are nice, not kicked or beaten to death, and there's a lot of money that goes into that, and it's frustrating when you see a picture from a customer of a box that we took pride in, just the box, taping it up, stamping it, branding it, whatever we did to that box.
Not even 24 hours
Not
later.
even 24 hours later, and it looks like it went through a washing
Oh,
machine
no.
on an airplane that went through a hurricane.
And you're just like, that is not
Yeah.
our standard or how
No.
it left here, right?
And so the shipping's a third party deal, and they don't, like a lot of your toy makers or whatever, or mass meat producers, they don't take pride in every single animal.
Right.
They don't take pride in every single box. That's their job. They get paid to be there from however long it takes them to deliver everything, pick up and deliver, the end. And so you got to give some grace there. They didn't sign up to deliver my meat with my equal pride.
Right.
But I would do a little better if I was the driver.
So this has been a learning
it's cool.
thing.
It's been a learning thing. It's
And
been
this
great.
just rolled out, right?
Yeah, 6 weeks ago. This week we're shipping some stuff to Altus.
Okay.
We've basically hit
2 weeks, it's been perfect.
Knock
on.
all four
Yes,
corners
knock
of the
on
state.
someone. Okay,
And
so statewide, right?
It's all next
Statewide
day.
shipping.
Yep. It's all been next day. There was one package that was delayed, but it showed up fine. Frozen, everything good,
And
intact.
goals beyond that, we can ship quarter tops and wholes outside of the state. But we've got to make sure that our little boxes are going really good before we get these
Yeah.
bigger boxes with lots of meat going out.
Right.
Even farther. So
Right.
So we're shipping 5 to, I think, 17 boxes a week.
Mm-hmm.
If we start shipping whole portions, I mean, if we got 5 of those, we're going to ship 80 boxes in 1 week. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Sending
it's
Guthrie
gonna be
all
great.
over. I love it.
Absolutely, yeah. Because
That's like Rick. Stacey does that. At Rick, she ships all over, and she's got Rick's chocolate in like 30 some wholesale, and it's so cool because I always tell her, you're just a little bit of Guthrie, all over.
planting the
It's
G-Town
awesome.
seeds.
Yep.
I'll never leave Guthrie. Guthrie's just cool. Like, I grew up different times, but these streets behind us, I crossed them on rollerblades, skateboard, bicycle.
do you know times I ate donuts over there?
Yeah.
When it was daylight donuts?
Yeah.
And-
Well, and you guys are seeing it change, but hopefully for the good, lots of
Yeah.
new things happening and lots
I
of
would-
growth.
I would rather see growth than death, and stagnation's death, and too much stagnation has killed too many small towns.
Right.
And Guthrie, with its unique history as a township, it's too cool to let die. Mm-hmm. Really.
Well,
And
we got to hold on to our history. When I talk about Guthrie, I always say this, we want to hold on to like our community feel, right? And a smaller town feel, but we can do that and still grow too, and still think forward, but we just have to also remember where Guthrie came from and what it was founded, and we have to hold on to our history, like you're talking about. But it's kind of trying to balance all of that, which is challenging because some people go, no, we don't want to grow. We don't want to get bigger. But then we have to grow so that it doesn't die,
Right.
without the growth mindset, everything's going to slowly vacate. And with the growth mindset, even if growth is slow, it keeps the businesses moving and filling in some of these empty spaces we have, which is key to kind of get Guthrie back to where it was. I
Right.
mean, when I was young, I could list off 20 stores that aren't here right now that I used to love, infrequent, maybe not 20, probably solid 10. But it was the mindset of, we don't want this here. We don't want this here. This is a little farm town. They need to take that to Edmond or Stillwater or whatever. And I kind of can feel that feeling sometimes. But there again, if you're not always moving towards growth, then you're moving willingly the other direction.
Right.
Because
And we can still grow and support local.
Yep,
I mean, we
absolutely.
can scream it from the rooftops, like just like you're talking about. I love Amazon as much as the next person, and I'll still do it. But for, 80% probably of what my family needs, I need a gift or a service or things like that. I'm going to start here in my community before I go, big box or online.
There's so many
know?
untapped resources here in Guthrie, which is funny. And I think a lot of the locals are the ones who are untapping them because they've driven by the same place a billion times. I was like, I'm going to stop in there one day. Well, it's 20 years have gone
right.
by and you haven't stopped in there.
Right.
And they walk in there and they're just awestruck. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How have I not been in here a million times? And
Because we get comfortable.
they get comfortable and they think, this is for tourists. And well, it's not. It's your town. Come shop it. Come
Yep.
utilize it. Come support the people who are giving back to the community like us. And be local. Supporting local is great. Being a part of the community as a whole, and with just presence, even if you're not buying, just walking around town. There's so much history and so much beauty in downtown Guthrie that I hope will never fade. but I think with the right mindset, it never will, and it'll just get better.
I agree. Well, I really appreciate you guys being my guests today. I hope that our listeners learned something new about you guys. But I just want to thank you for partnering with the Chamber. We love talking about you. We love helping spread just all the good that Dunagan is doing. And I just adore the two of you. And I just want to thank you for being our guests today. And you guys just keep on keeping on, because you are truly the definition of community wins and choosing Guthrie and all of that. So is there anything we want to add? Oh, I guess before we do close, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Why do you look at me?
I just don't want to. I just want to make sure there's margin for you if you have anything to say, because I
Yes.
tend to ramble.
How can they get a hold of you, Heather?
They can call Jace directly. If he doesn't answer his phone, we have it to where it goes through to mine. So
Okay.
there are times that you get through to me. You can message us. You can look us up on Google, Yelp,
Facebook,
Instagram,
all the things.
Yeah.
What's your
TikTok.
website?
Dunagan-farms.com.
Okay.
That's Dunagan-farms.com. And the phone number she speaks of is 405-821-0562.
Okay. And in case you're screening your calls, it'll go to Heather. No.
No, I answer everything.
I'm just kidding.
I answer all of the calls, which is sometimes tiring,
Yes.
because 7 out of 10 some days are spam calls.
I know. Those darn
And
spam
it gets
calls.
frustrating.
Right.
But
Yes.
there's 3 out of 10 that I get to connect with someone
That's right.
and
Makes
get an
it all worth
opportunity to make their life better.
There you
And so
go.
it makes those 7 worth it.
There you go. And follow on Facebook, friends, because their Facebook page is awesome. They're always posting tips, and they've got a fun group that you can post like your bragging board of your delicious creations from Dunagan Farms beef. So anyway, I highly recommend it. But thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you,
So,
Brittany.
you're welcome. All right, friends. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Chamber Vibes podcast from Second Banana Media Studios in beautiful downtown Guthrie, America.